never dreamed you'd mean a thing to me. But when I needed your loving, you gave me loving the way it ought to be. Sweet country days, my memories are clear, and I remember the laughter, sure miss the laughter had when you were here. And when I feel the way I'm feeling, can't help believing you made it so easy. They can't take that away. Stories don't mean a thing to me. I loved your face, I loved your quiet ways. If I could paint you in colors, you'd be a rainbow on a summer day. And when I feel the way I'm feeling, can't help believing you made it so easy. They can't take that away. They can't take that away. They can't take that away. They can't take that away.
Time and tide, your rolling rhythms are the music of my past. Hard times move slowly, but the good times move so fast. The good times move so fast. Roll on time and tide, your summer sunlight seems to melt away disguise. Reflects a woman waiting in a young girl's eyes. In a young girl's eyes. And love, oh, there is love enough for two in every morning. Come, let us taste it, find love, oh, in a life so quickly through. An April morning, we must not waste it. Time and tide, I've watched your perfect sunset slipping through the waves. Your light has gone, your beauty mind and memory saves. My sweet memory saves. Roll on time and tide. Your rolling rhythms are the music of my past. Hard times move slowly, but the good times move so fast. The good times move so fast. And love, oh, there is love enough for two in every morning. Come, let us taste it. Find the love, oh, in a life so quickly through. An April warning, we must not waste it. Find the love.
I am alive. We are alive. I am alive. I am alive. And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? Who is this aliveness I am? Is it not the Holy Blessed One? Join me, please. No words. La da die, die da die die, I die da die. Da 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 die, die da die die, die die da die. Da 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 die, die da die die, die die da die, die die die. Umihu hachayut shali, umihu hachayut shali. Who is this aliveness in me? Is it not the Holy Blessed One? Is it not the Holy Blessed One? Is it not the Holy Blessed One? Is it not the Holy Blessed One?
Welcome. Thank you for being here as we honor dear Ron Silverman, Mordechai ben Natan of blessed memory. Ron was the son of Nathan and Sylvia and the brother of Andy. He was an entirely devoted husband to his beloved Myra and a loving father to Mark and Kathy, and stepfather to Lisa, Rick, and Debbie. He was a grandfather to Robert and Scott, Katie and Alex, and Brandon, Benjamin, and Spencer, and a great-grandfather to Ford and Reed, Milo, and Enzo. He was also a dear friend. In addition to all of that, he was an outstanding and successful film producer. But more than that, he stressed to me, he was dedicated to being of service everywhere he lived and gave his dedication and focus and vision and resources to the causes that he believed in and to the projects he committed to tending. One of those projects was the stewardship with Myra of manifesting this stunning building during his tenure as board president of Temple Emek Shalom. And he not only guided its construction, he ensured its financial stability, a lasting legacy to the Jewish community of the Rogue Valley. Ron turned 92 this summer on June 13th, 613. In Judaism, 613 is a very important number, as it is said to be the number of commandments that we were given by God on Mount Sinai. These commandments were the ways we were to move forward in the world as humans, as Jews, as friends, as parents, as stewards of the planet, inheritors of the beautiful tradition of Judaism, and partners with God in healing the world. How fitting that 613 was Ron's birthday. Because Ron took his Judaism and these imperatives to tend and serve and show up and stand up in his Jewish communities, in his charitable service, in his work, and in his role in his family, whom he adored and treasured. Ron was a tzaddik, a righteous and an amazing man. I am personally so grateful for the true friendship that developed between us recently. The other day, I was thinking that he was an angel in this life, in his life, in the ways that he showed up and gave. But he was not a gentle angel, or not as I experienced him, because he was a force. And so I lovingly now think of him as a fierce angel. And in this world, I believe we need fierce angels. They make things happen because they care so entirely and tirelessly. And that was Ron. I will miss my friend. And I'm full of gratitude to have witnessed him in his life, to witness him and Myra in this building. One of the first things I saw when I interviewed here, was this building, and I thought, this is a space I want to pray in. I'm so glad. I think of them every time I'm in here, every time I enter the building. I'm also grateful to have learned so much from him. It is my great honor to uplift him today and to bless his memory. Zichrono livracha, his memory will be an eternal blessing.
I actually think that Myra was the fierce angel, but he was her assistant, and every fierce angel has to have an assistant to go into the world. So they say that Babe Ruth built the Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built. But really, this is the house that Rabbi Mark Surinsky and Myra and Ron built. We're in the stadium of God right here because of them so much. So I just want to say, because he every year corresponds to one of the Psalms, that he lived to 92 years, and the 92nd Psalm is the Psalm that we pray every Shabbat in the evening, Tov Lehodot. It's good to give thanks to God. It's good to give thanks. And Ron was a thanks giver. He gave thanks in so many ways. He brought a sense of class to our community. He was proud of his career, of course, as you're going to hear today, but even more so, it was his family. It was the people he loved. That was the reward that he brought into the world and the inspiration that he gave to all of us. He certainly followed Myra in many ways. Even when Myra was passing, he said, after she died, I think he told Rabbi Julie and I don't know if I'm going to make it past a year. And so he was following her in the most profound way, as he did throughout life. He was charitable. We're going to hear so much from so many people, so I don't want to speak too much right now, but just, on behalf of Temple Emek Shalom and on behalf of our whole Jewish community, thank you all for being here to support the family. Oh, one more thing. This binder, which has the notes for the service today and the memorial, is the one also I used for Myra, and I've left her notes in the back here just to remind me how connected they are together. Ron by Ron.
Aww. So just one technical reminder, if you have cell phones, please make sure that they're silent for this next little while. Thank you so much. We have a handout for you, and there's just different readings that'll be happening, and also a list of all the speakers so you kind of know what to expect today. But I want to lift up this beautiful poem prayer. When we sing 7 blessings when people are married, and these are 7 blessings of memory and hope for Ron. Please join me if you'd like, or just listen and send your energy to Ronnie. May you know that you are always remembered for the good you have done. May you know that you are missed beyond measure. May you know that we see your face, hear your voice, feel your touch. May you know that we bring what you have taught us into our lives. May you know that you continue to travel our journey with us. May you know that by your presence in our lives, you have changed us. May you know that we honor your name and your memory today and always. So we're now going to be inviting up family members to share and speak about beloved Ron. First, I'd like to invite up Andy, Ron's brother. Just try to speak right into that. Speak right into that. Okay.
As the rabbi said, I'm Andy and I'm Ron's brother. As many of you know, Ronnie, the name that I always called him, was 10 years older than me. When we were young, a 10-year difference between siblings can result in each going their own way. However, that was not the case with Ronnie and me. There was no better babysitter than Ronnie. He always made it fun. Ronnie and I shared a bedroom until Ronnie was 19. If we went to bed at the same time, which we did on occasion, it was time for us to share about what was going on in our lives. Ronnie and I never argued, nor got mad at each other. That says a great deal about our relationship. From the time I can remember, we had a strong and loving and close relationship. As we got older, we became even closer. The 10 years was not such a gap. We had many fun times together, from traveling to playing games to watching movies to just talking. In addition to all the creative talents Ronnie had, he was also a poet. He wrote many wonderful poems. On his 75th birthday, I decided the best thing I could give him was to write a poem for him. I would like to conclude my remarks with the poem, Big Bro and Me, I penned to celebrate for his birthday. This poem was written 17 years ago, but should give you some insights as to Ronnie's younger years. My big bro was born in June of '33, during the Depression, so the delivery nearly free. He was born in a hospital in Old Hollywood. I cannot think of any other place he should. The family lived happily in LA for a while, then moved to experience San Francisco style. Then out to Phoenix and the desert heat, to a place Mom never thought again she would meet. In Phoenix, my big bro made his early mark. Kenilworth, Boy Scouts, and the Al Jolson Lark. 2 years after the Phoenix move, his little brother, me, came into the groove. We were a decade apart in life and in age, but my big bro was willing to add a new page. It was hard to include me in his active life, but he did what he could, and we never had strife. My big bro was one of the stars at West. Yearbook editor, valedictorian, he passed every test. After graduation, back to LA we went, becoming a Bruin and living at home with no rent. We lived in a duplex right on Orange Drive. There were 6 in that house, kicking and alive. There were 3 in our bedroom and still room to roam. No complaints from my bro to share the room in the home. Back to Phoenix again, but we did not moan. Now it was time for my bro on his own. Down to Tucson he traveled to complete his school. Again he excelled. He was no fool. After graduating first, my big bro back home, but this time we each had our own room to roam. He began to report and write for the paper, won a national award for breaking the state hospital caper. Enough with Phoenix and living with us, off to LA for some Tinseltown lust. He produced many films and had 2 wonderful children, Kathy and Mark too, but never forgot his little brother me and all of you. He now lives in Ashland, where he again stands out, president of the shul and a community roustabout. With Myra, he has raised lots and lots of loot, from the capital campaign to the auctions, a horn to toot. Like my big bro, I've led a wonderful life, a good job, children, and a terrific wife. But I'm also so fortunate to have a big bro that always been there and helped his little brother me to grow. Tonight, I say, big bro, with so much pride, happy birthday, and thanks for a truly great ride. Before ending, Star and I would like to recognize and thank Lisa for all the love and support she gave Ronnie during the last year. Big bro, I love you. I will never, of course, forget you, and I will miss you. Thank you.
Mark Silverman.
Hello. Hi. Oh, wow. Hi. Hi, everyone. My father asked me to speak. He asked me about 30 years ago as we walked out of another service. He said, "You're going to speak for me someday?" I said, "Yeah, I probably will, yeah." He said, "What voice are you going to use?" I said, "Well, I have many of them. I'll probably just try. I could just do it like me. It might work. But I'm going to try that." All right. Now, somebody has to talk about my father's movies, and I'm just the guy to do it. I know stuff you can't find out anywhere else. Now, the first movie my father produced was called Buster and Billy. It was a very small movie, came out in 1974, starred Jan Michael Vincent. It was a love story that had a very tragic and violent ending. In fact, the tagline on the poster said, "Buster and Billy, it should have been a love story." And it was a hit in 1974. It made a lot of money because it barely cost any. It played on television and got huge ratings one night. But after the 70s, it was like the movie was never made. It vanished. And my father was so baffled and depressed about this over the years. We'd bring this up. Whatever happened to Buster and Billy? And he would just, there was no answer. The greatest thing was, 2 years ago, Quentin Tarantino did an entire podcast on his love of Buster and Billy. And my dad is 90 listening to this, and Tarantino's going on about how he was crying and screaming watching this on television. And then he screened it at his theater, the New Beverly. And I went down there with Robert, and there was a huge crowd, and seeing the marquee that said Buster and Billy, I mean, it was just an extraordinary moment. I wish my father could have been there. And the movie got a huge applause. And it's now available on Blu-ray, actually. The next film my father made was Lifeguard, about a lifeguard having a midlife crisis. It was a very serious, thought-provoking movie. And it's the only film in motion picture history where you can see my entire family and most of our neighbors in our bathing suits. But the movie was a thought-provoking movie starring Sam Elliott in his first starring role. But my father hated the marketing. He looked at the poster and said, they've turned it into beach blanket bingo. It had like a comic book drawing of Sam Elliott with women blowing his whistle. And that never even happened in the movie. And he especially hated the tagline that said, "Lifeguard, every girl's summer dream." But when people see the movie, they say, "My God, it has so many deep issues in this movie." You would think, so that marketing campaign was just bad. Brubaker was my father's most personal movie. 10 years he had that script and hired writer after writer to try to perfect this, getting turned down by studios. Finally, it became a movie, and when my father was in that prison watching Robert Redford deliver those lines, my father was so emotional, he had to tell Redford what a big moment this was for him. Then, when the reviews came out, the LA Times called it the best work of Redford's career. The Academy Award nominations came out, and that script that my father worked on so hard got nominated for Best Original Screenplay. It should have won. Krull was the big fantasy film. I got to live in London with my father and Myra and Lisa. It was a huge thing with extraordinary amount of talent, and it came out and bombed in the summer of '83. It was up against Star Wars 3 of all things. But since then, that movie has an amazing cult following, and it still shows at different screenings all over the world. And you can get that on Blu-ray. My father was an incredible Academy voter for the Oscars. He would watch everything. The only time Myra swayed his vote, I remember this, was my dad was going to vote for Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln and ended up voting for Hugh Jackman for Les Mis. That's the only time on record that ever happened. My father was very disappointed in the best song category because songs weren't good anymore. But he voted in 2008 for a song called "It's Hard Out There for a Pimp" from a movie called Hustle and Flow. And he voted for that because that song had more to do with the movie than any of the other songs. The only argument I ever got in with my father was my father took me to the best screening of my life. We went to see Rocky months before it came out. When the Oscar nominations came out, Rocky was up for Best Picture, and my dad voted for All the President's Men. And I said, "Are you kidding?" I was 12 years old. I said, "You got to be kidding." We watched the Oscars, and Rocky won, actually. So I felt a little vindicated. My dad loved very theatrical things that were kind of corny sometimes. And we lived one of the corniest, most cliche father-son moments. Wait, I need some water. Does anyone have any? Oh, that'll do. Thank you. Sure. I lived one of the corniest cliche experiences a father and son could have. My father missed all my high school baseball games in 1980 because he was in prison. He was in Ohio making Brubaker in a prison. It always happens. So he missed every game, and I did fairly well that year. Finally, the next year, I wasn't doing well. I couldn't hit, and I kept striking out. It was a terrible slump. And I come out to first base, and I see my father's in the stands, and I panic. I say, "Oh, no." And I have my first at-bat, and of course, I strike out. And I go up to the stands. I say, "Dad, you don't really have to be here. I'm not doing well, and this is very awkward." He says, "Mark, I didn't come out here to leave. Now go out there and play your game, So I go out there. Two innings later, I hit my first home run I've ever hit in my life and tied the game. And I'm rounding the bases thinking, God, this is just like a movie. I can't believe this happened. A few innings later, in the last inning, the other team had scored another run, and there was 2 outs, and we had a guy on first, and I was up again. And somehow I hit my second home run of the day. and I'm rounding the bases, and I see my father in the stands, and my teammates are at home plate, and they carry me off the field on their shoulders like the corniest sports movie, and my dad is watching. I'm thinking, how did this really happen? And my dad and I walked to the car. It was the most incredible, prideful, silent walk to the car. And we get in, and my father says, "Now, had I left when you asked me to?" And I said, "You're absolutely right." And it just became the greatest father-son story that I've got. And that is going to end it for me right now. I'll be around later for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we now invite up Robert, Ron's grandson.
Hello, my name is Robert, Ron's grandson, and I'm going to speak not only for myself, but also on behalf of my mother, Kathy, Ron's daughter. What can one say about someone who has meant so much to us our entire lives? Of course, there are those adjectives that could help to describe him: loving, caring, knowledgeable, thoughtful, funny, wise, supportive, honest. But that just doesn't seem like enough to describe someone we love so much. We have so many great memories with Papa Ronnie, and I, for one, can say that I am truly lucky and proud to have had him for 41 years of my life. My earliest memories are spending time with Papa Ronnie and Nanny back in Beverly Hills at the Swall condo. I used to love going there for Passover, Hanukkah, or for any reason. I remember when I was about 12 years old or so, Papa Ronnie and Nanny told us that they were going to move to Ashland, and I must admit that I was upset at the time. I didn't want them to live so far away, but with that, I got to experience Ashland and Medford and build so many new memories which I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I'll miss Papa Ronnie so much, and there are two things I will always remember. One is his laugh. He had the best laugh, and when you were able to make him laugh, you felt great. The other thing I will remember are the talks I had with him about anything and everything, including life or simply just talking about movies. I remember once when I was a kid, I asked him what his favorite film was, and his response was, "It's a Wonderful Life." And I honestly couldn't think of a better title than that to describe his own life. We love you, Papa Ronnie. Thank you.
And Scott Leninger, Ron's grandson, Kathy's son, please come up.
Hello. As Papa Ronnie was so beloved by his friends and family, it was decided that 2 minutes was an acceptable amount of time to share our love, our memories, and our thoughts. But how does a grandson sum up his grandfather in 2 minutes? How do you convey a relationship like that? Do I share stories of adventures like the time we went fishing on the Rogue River and somehow caught the very same fish? Is that even something that happens? Do I reminisce about the time Papa Ronnie was beatboxing with Bobby McFerrin? It's a true story, and I still laugh about it. What about sitting in his backyard watching the sunset while we talked about my hopes and dreams for the future? Do I mention how he introduced me to Shakespeare, musicals, and dinner theater, how he'd sing his favorite melodies while driving around town as he passed along his love of the arts to me? Should I talk about his love for Myra, because it's nearly impossible to mention one without the other? Toward the end of both of their lives, we bonded over that love, how it mirrored the love I share with my wife. Those conversations remain some of my most beautiful memories with them. Do I try to pass along some grandfatherly wisdom? Honestly, I don't have all the answers. Maybe that's not my role. Maybe my role is simply to stand here as his grandson and say how much I loved him, how much I'll miss him, and how the world feels just a bit dimmer without him. Maybe that's enough, just to say, Papa Ronnie, I love you. Well, maybe I can share one piece of sage wisdom he passed down. Now, if you ever order French fries, and they're not piping hot, send them back. Papa Ronnie, you will be missed and forever loved.
Thank you. I now invite up Lisa.
As I stand here before you, I am filled with gratitude for each of those faces looking back at me today, yesterday, and over these past many months, and that includes all of you on Zoom. Each of you provided loving support to Ron and me throughout this long final journey. Many of you helped create what we called Ron's happy wall, a wall he would gaze upon each and every day. You filled his room at the hospital and health center with your words of love, encouragement, and finally, loving reflections on what he has meant and brought to your lives. Your expressions have been an inspiration for me to experience alongside Ron. While Ronnie was stubborn on his request or directive for no visitors, you each found a way to visit with him through your texts, emails, cards, and notes. It was a level of love and devotion to your dear friend that I was privileged to witness and be part of receiving. Ron's journey to return to my mother has been a loving and long one. In May of 2024, when we lost my mother, I made Ronnie promise me that nothing bad would happen to him for at least one full year. While I knew this moment would eventually come, at that time I could not bear the thought of a life without them both. A year would allow for us to grieve together, to be together, and to try to move in life together. It would also honor what my mother wanted most, for him and us all to go on. He smiled, and he said he would do his best, and he promised. And true to his word, as always, he exceeded that year and exceeded his promise. And with his presence in this past year without my mom, Ronnie and I have shared a measure of comfort together. We've leaned on one another, sharing time together, talked, cried, reflected, laughed, created more fun memories, and did our best to find meaning in a life without Myra. Much of what you see and experience here today is of Ron's making. The sanctuary we sit in, he was part of building, literally. The experience you are having, he requested, down to the music. The flowers are his favorite color, yellow. The music is a compilation chosen by his son, Mark, and pulled together by his grandson, Robert. The videos you see reflect a life that is rich, from the photos of family, friends, community life, to his career and films he produced. This is a man who lived. He seized life with both hands and had a laugh that was infectious. I smile and giggle inside just hearing in my mind that laughter. Over the years, I've written Ron numerous cards and letters expressing what is in my heart and soul for him. I wrote him a final Father's Day card message this year, some of which is fitting to share and repeat today. Ronnie, as I sit to write this Father's Day card, knowing it is likely the last, I think of what I want you to know most, what I have to say. Over these past 43 plus years of knowing you, I have not left much unsaid, So what do I have to say that has not been said each day prior to this one? Just more. Mostly that you are so loved, not just by me or your family, but by so many. I hope you feel it. I hope you know it deep into your bones and take this knowing into your soul as you move into these next weeks. You have been and will always remain a big part of my life. You will hold a special place that is reserved just for you. It is not because of the love you showed for my mother or the life you two shared. It is because of the love you've shown me and the life, your life, you've been open to sharing with me. Not even my mother or father hold this place in my heart. It is yours alone. I am so grateful to have had you in my life for more than 45 years. You've seen me through the highs and lows of my formative years. When I was a teenager, you took the time to get to know me and truly wanted to know me. You've ebbed and flowed with me, never pushing, never forcing, always patient, loving, and accepting of whatever may be needed in that moment. We've laughed together, cried together, argued. Sorry, I didn't have that experience. But argued, shared hopes, fears, and dreams with each other. Mostly, you've taken time to simply be with me. You've remained that steadfast role model on what it means to a friendship and within a family to know kindness and be compassionate towards others, even in disagreement or times that may be difficult. And to this end, together, we have forged a trust and deep connection. I can honestly say that I am the woman I am today because of the gentle and caring love you've sprinkled along my way. We've shared so many fun adventures together, and I will hold tight to each of those memories as if they were happening again today. I will smile with each bite of junk food, knowing how much you would be enjoying that alongside me. I will send back limp French fries and demand they be cooked to crisp and hot perfection. I will never again go to a live show and sit in a theater without thinking of you and considering, is this seat great or just so-so? You know, placement is everything, both for hearing and seeing it all. I will miss our banter, our hugs, our Shabbat dinners, and just hanging out. Mostly, I will miss you. So on this Father's Day, what shall I say? How about thank you? Thank you for sharing so much of you with me and allowing me to do the same with you. Thank you for allowing me to share in so much of your life with Mom. Thank you for being the kind of man who can demonstrate his gentle, kind, caring, and patient love so effortlessly. You make me strive for more and settle for nothing less. Ronnie, you have left an impression on my soul and are forever imprinted on my heart. While our DNA may not be the same, you are a father to me in all the ways that matter most, especially in my heart, mind, and soul. I love you today, tomorrow, and into forever. May you take my love with you into your peaceful, calm tomorrows and keep it with you always into your forever.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. So next we want to call up Ron's stepson, Rick Horwich, and grandchildren who can come up with Rick, Katie and Alex. Please come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoops. I know it's here somewhere. There it is. So before I get started with my comments with regards to Ron, I think it's important that I need to come clean on something. So Andy, this actually sort of kind of has to do with you. So Ron had a beloved Mercedes. And anybody who ever rode with Ron knows a couple of things. First of all, when you get in the car, the first thing is you must buckle up. The other thing is you must drive carefully. And we came up once, we came up many times, but we came up once. Amy and I were going to go out to dinner. Ron was very, very kind and lent us his car and said, make sure you buckle up and make sure you drive carefully, because he knew that I am not a passive driver. What I never told Ron, and this is my mea culpa, is I got a speeding ticket. So Andy, now I did pay the ticket. At least I believe I paid the ticket. So Andy, as you go to register the car, if there are any issues, there are any problems, okay, call me. Right. The next thing that I want to say is, and this is my thank you to Ron, I want to thank Andy, I want to thank Kathy, and I want to thank Mark for sharing your brother, for sharing your father with us. While we're not blood, we're blood. And he's amazing. And you know that, and you've heard that. So thank you very, very much from my heart for sharing that love and sharing him with us. I have a lot to be thankful for Ron. And I'll leave the most important to the last. Ron gave me my first job when I graduated college. I literally, the day after I graduated Tulane University, I found myself in prison. He brought me up from Louisiana, up to the Badlands of Ohio, stuck me into Junction City Prison, and there I was working on the set of Brubaker, where, among other things, I learned how to play liar's poker quite well. So thank you very much. And I also got a chance to play several times tennis with Robert Redford, which not a lot of people can say that. So I enjoyed that. Ron realized that maybe movie production wasn't in my DNA, but what maybe was really good was, I'm a deal maker, I'm a storyteller, I like to deal with people. So he says, I have an agent, and my agent has just left his agency. And why don't you go talk to Mike Rosenfeld? Because maybe you can work with him. And I went, sure. And I went and I talked to his agent, and they offered me a job. There was a brand new agency. It was hot. They only had maybe a couple thousand square feet in Century City at the time. And they offered me this amazing job working in the mailroom. I was like, I'm a college graduate. Why do I want to work in the mailroom? And so I said, no, I don't think so, because I was very high and mighty. This was not for me. Ron says, you might want to give it a try. No, Ron, I don't think so. I should have listened to him. That agency was CAA. So I literally could have been one of the first employees of CAA. What if? Big what if of my life. Ron introduced us. He was a visionary. Ron introduced us. You're going to hear this from Katie and Alex, I believe. But he introduced us to technology. There's this weird thing called the internet in the 1990s. And there's this even more crazy thing that you could buy things on the internet. Who knew? And he literally was the very first person I ever saw who bought anything on the internet, and it showed up. Wow. Most of all, Ron, I want to thank him for being a loving grandfather to Katie and Alex, and you'll hear from them. I want to thank him for being a loving great-grandfather to Ferd, which he affectionately called Ford, and Reed. I want to thank him for being an incredibly loving father-in-law
to Amy, my beautiful and wonderful wife. I'm going to miss his sound. I'm going to miss his laugh. I'm going to miss him as an advisor and as a confidant. He set the bar high for all of us, something that, at least from my perspective, will be very difficult to go over, if not impossible. But it's definitely worth trying. Most of all, and Lisa alluded to this and others have alluded to this, I want to thank him for the incredible love affair that he had with our mother that started all the way back in high school. Ron, you lit up her life. There wasn't a time where we talked to her that she didn't talk about you. There wasn't a time that she didn't talk about her love for you. And when she talked about her love for you, her eyes lit up and her smile. And for that, I will always say thank you.
Hello. I'm Katie. Growing up, I felt like the luckiest kid in the world. I had not one, not two, but 3 grandfathers. My entire life, I felt like I'd hit the grandparent lottery. And in a gaggle of grandfathers, the grandfather that the universe gifted me was exactly the grandfather for me. I can trace so many of my most important experiences and moments back to Papa Ronnie, and I know my brother can say the same, as the 3 of us, 4 with Nana, shared so many experiences, first joys, and life moments together. I saw my first 2 musicals, Cats and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, with him, sparking my love for theater and storytelling. He had a small keyboard piano in his office at one point, which I plunked out songs on, and that led me to getting my own keyboard at home that helped me develop my ear for music. His appreciation of my bat mitzvah speech, which I believe he wrote about in this temple's newsletter, made me believe that maybe I had a knack for writing, as he was the critic whose opinion I most highly valued. When I was 15, I went on my very first trip without my parents. Nana and Papa Ronnie took me, their theater-loving teenage granddaughter, to their favorite city, London. An immense privilege, not just get to travel internationally and see shows every single night, as well as attend British Passover, which was pretty much like American Passover, but with prettier accents, but to get such a unique time with them. Yes, I definitely frustrated him when I flooded the bathroom the first night in our flat because I had never used a shower curtain before, but besides that, to have that week with them in a brand new city was something I'll never forget. Papa Ronnie was the earliest adopter of technology I knew, and still, even into his last year, had more tech savviness and digital media literacy than most people a fraction of his age. What that meant for me as a kid is that I learned about the joys of computer games, Seventh Guest, and the word games built into Prodigy's OS, only the best, of course, and the miracles of online shopping. And what that meant for me as an adult is that he had a unique understanding and lens on my interests, career choices, and life in general. Where others were wary or feared change, Papa Ronnie embraced it. He not only embraced it, but he made it his goal to master it, age or pre-existing habits irrelevant. Of course, there were certain things that were unchangeable and unbudgeable. I'll never forget receiving a long, impassioned, and also not entirely joking email in response to a blog post that I had written. The post was about developing a healthy relationship with food and your body, using experience with sweet potato fries as my storytelling device. But yes, his biggest takeaway was, you can probably guess where this is going. But the sweet potato versus regular fries debate was maybe one of the only places where we diverged. Our interests, passions, and outlooks often seemed closer to a circle than a Venn diagram. Theater, writing, and a love of the arts, obviously, but also our love for reason, strategy, traditions, culture, education, leadership, community engagement, and deep, nuanced conversation. Moving to New York, a city he loved as much as I did, deepened our relationship even more. And after so many years of going to visit him here, I can't tell you what a joy it was to have him come visit me every year and introduce him to my New York. He got me on so many levels, and I got him. I told him how proud I was to be his granddaughter, often. And he told me how proud he was to be my grandfather, often, in person, in writing, and in action. My brother, my cousins, and I are so blessed to have had such a force of nature as a grandfather. Now, in the past year, we had many conversations about grief, and honestly, I was a little nervous when Nana died that he'd become a shell of himself. And yet, it was just the opposite. The way he stepped up and into his life was nothing short of inspiring. As much as the rug had been pulled out from under him, I don't need to tell any of you here how active he stayed and was in his community, and how he did the opposite of shrink away. I'd always said my grandparents had a way more active social life than anyone I knew in adulthood, including myself. And I was nervous that it would fade away without Nana here to host half of Rogue Valley for a small gathering. This past September, I took a trip up here by myself, and I spent an entire day, just the two of us. We talked at the house for hours. He took me to the tea room in Ashland for lunch, and we just hung out. I got to see how he was faring close up. He told me about how he had made it a goal for himself to go out to dinner with friends at least one night a week. He'd stayed on every single board he was on, and there were a lot of boards, and he even joined some new initiatives. He told me about how he started a group for grieving spouses when he couldn't find one that already existed. And while I was impressed and relieved, I can't say that I was surprised. He was someone who created his own life and didn't just let it happen. I often told Paparani I was president of his fan club, for which he often asks, what is the dues structure of that membership? What a blessing to have had such a genuine closeness to a grandparent in childhood and adulthood, and have a grandparent meet you where you are, yes, as their grandchild, but even more so as a person. As sad as I am, I choose to be like him and be proactive with that sadness. I see this moment with my universe-gifted grandfather as a continuation of our relationship and not the end. I will miss him tremendously, will love him always, will talk to him often, and will commit to occasionally ordering the regular fries, just for him.
Katie and I did not write these together. I think that should be said. Growing up, I considered myself to be one of the luckiest people in the world. Most everyone I know had two grandfathers. Not me. I, along with my sister and cousins, of course, had three. And to top it off, each one was a little bit different. One was very business savvy and taught me about networking and decorum and responsibility. One was very jovial, teaching me the art of a good joke and how to throw a good party. Footnote, both taught me many other things as well. And then there was the third grandfather. And here's the interesting thing. I shared no DNA with him, and we lived nearly 700 miles away for most of my life. However, genetics and distance aside, I may have been closest and shared more common interest with him than the others. Paparani's influence on me is beyond undeniable. He studied journalism. I wanted to study journalism. He worked in entertainment. I wanted to work in entertainment. He kept up with history and politics. I wanted to keep up with history and politics. He had a pool table with his own special cue stick and a rule book. And I've already told my wife that a pool table is a non-negotiable absolute must in our future home. Paparani was the epitome of an early adopter when it came to technology. When I got a Sega Dreamcast, he wanted me to bring it to Ashland so I could teach him how to play. He had the latest in TV and sound tech to make sure his Academy screeners were always seen and heard in the best quality. He was one of 770,000 people worldwide to buy a Nintendo Virtual Boy. He was an early and active Facebook user. I don't remember exactly how old I was. My best guess would be about 4. Papa Ronnie had just gotten something amazing called a computer. After showing my parents and sister the amazing ability to go on something called Disney Store online and buy things from home, what a concept, he showed me a program that he had purchased called Cinemania. It was a collection of articles, sound bites, and clips from some of the greatest movies of all time. Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Jaws, Citizen Kane, one of his favorites, Star Wars, my favorite, countless others. I loved them all. It made me fall in love with movies. Lucky for me, I had a grandfather who made a living in the industry and could tell me everything, stories, process, ins and outs of filmmaking. Film became one of our biggest bonding topics. Some of my earliest memories are of my sister and I sleeping over at their condo in LA, falling asleep to the score of Beauty and the Beast, while also staring sleeplessly at the smoking gun pointed right at me on the Shoot to Kill movie poster, something that absolutely freaked me out, but I did not tell him about until about just over a year ago. He'd teach me film history while I asked about what it was like making Brubaker or Krull. We had our yearly scheduled phone call on the morning of the Oscars to talk about what he voted for and what I thought should win. Once I started my first job in the industry, he would always want to keep him up to date, not just about how I was doing or what I was working on, but how I felt the direction of the industry was going. What was I seeing on the inside? What was my personal point of view on all that was happening? When I told him that I had gotten a job at DreamWorks, he had the biggest look of pride in his face and gave me the biggest hug imaginable, almost as if I had just won an Oscar myself. He always expressed how proud he was in what I was doing, theater and music in high school, a cappella and sports marketing in college, my jobs in the sports and entertainment industry post-grad, but this seemed to be a true high watermark. I'm beyond grateful for my 35 years that I was able to have Papa Ronnie in my life as a grandfather, but seeing his love for my kids as a great-grandfather over the past 5 years has been the absolute best. At a very young age, my son Ford, young age, he's 5, so even at a younger age, my son Ford decided to playfully call him Papa Ronnie. Ron, without hesitation, in a very Ron way, said, "Well, then I'm going to call you Ferd." And that was that, Papa Ronnie and Ferd, an inside joke and friendship, almost 90 years between them. When Nana passed away, Papa Ronnie later told me how a hug and a moment with his buddy Ferd helped him ease a sadness for a moment. Ford and Reed will always know that they had 2 unbelievable people in their lives that not only loved them beyond words, but were the best possible role models that they could ask for, their Nana and Papa Ronnie. There's so much that I will miss, almost too much to name. His dedication to activism, education, the arts, charity, family, all hallmarks of who Ron is, was, and always will be remembered to be. There are a few pearls of wisdom I must share with you that I will always keep in my life, and I hope you keep in yours. When you order soup, make sure it is as hot as humanly possible. I want to see the steam rising from it. When you get in the car, make sure you have your belts and a bottle of water. The best candy bar is a Baby Ruth, and that is not up for debate. It is imperatively important to stay grammatically correct at all times. Stay active, sure, physically, but more importantly, mentally, socially, and politically. Simply enough, thank you, Papa Ronnie. Thank you for being the man you were and helping to shape me into the man I am. I love you forever and always.
In your handout, there's a prayer from Psalm 90. Teach us to treasure each day. If you would join me, that would be wonderful. I think we just witnessed a beautiful example of what we call dor lador in Hebrew, from generation to generation. in the most profound way, Ron and Myra, they both live on, and they live on through their children and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Teach us to treasure each day. Psalm 90 expresses just a little bit of that wisdom. Limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu kein hoda, b'navi levav chachma. Limnot yameinu kein hoda, b'navi levav chachma. Please join me. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. No words now. Ay, 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 ay. Let me hear you. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. So we make this transition from family to treasured friends. And so we'll want to call up Rabbi Mark Serensky.
When I sat down to contemplate what I wanted to say about Ron, I thought of many things. How much he liked to play billiards, and how impressed he was. The first time he invited me over to his house to play, I brought my own cue stick. Or how we both loved movies and how sorry he was he couldn't share his Academy Award nominees' CDs because it wasn't proper to do. I also took some time to think about where one person ends and another begins. We're not really separate entities. We extend ourselves far beyond our skin. And Ron and Myra were the epitome of this. We can see clearly in their lives how they were not separate. Their influence on each other spread far and wide. But I'm here to talk about Ron and his place in Temple Emek Shalom history, where he served as president from 1999 to 2003. As a child of the 60s, now in my early 70s, my thoughts kept coming back to Ron's unique relationship with money and finance. At first, I saw his focus as misplaced. Then asking people for money was somewhat crass. That it separated people into the haves and have-nots. Then thanks to Ron and to Torah, I came to see it completely different. Ron understood the value of money to create new realities. He understood and was ready to help others like myself deal with our discomforts. I came to grok that money can be the sustainable energy that fuels responsible growth. It is irresponsible and greedy uses of money that we need to watch out for and avoid. For Torah teaches that nothing is inherently good or bad. Not money, not anger. Money is simply a medium of exchange. It's how we use it that makes the difference. Ron told me that giving from the heart is an antidote for people to see that they're not separate, but their shared purpose and unity, and for their boundaries to become blurred. And it's precisely what we learn in Parshat Truma. In Exodus 25, Moses is told by God to speak to the children of Israel and let them bring me an offering. Take my offering from everyone whose heart impels him or her to give. God envisions the people building a home, a hub for living in a higher form of community building than a group of individuals could do together. Ron shared in this divine vision. He imagined a world where holy behavior and actions could become part of everyday life, where those in need would be, whether it be spiritual, emotional, or physical, could find a caring heart and hand, where the teaching of the next generation could and would focus on ways and means of building a better world. A gathering place for contemplation and silence, where art and music are nurtured as a response to dreams, hopes, and values, and beauty is an expression of divine inspiration. Under Ron's guidance and leadership, he led us to a fully funded capital campaign before the ground was even broken, based on giving from the heart. And this led to this beautiful and functional building we are in today. The room you now sit in models this so well. The inside and out are not separate, but merged together. For God is not found only in the houses of worship, but in the natural world, the world in which we live. And the stained glass windows before you, done with such artistry, care, and love, tell things that each of us should do daily without measure, our core values. Honoring father and mother, performing acts of loving kindness, going early to the house of study, morning and evening, providing hospitality, attending the sick, providing for the bride, burying the dead, meditating in prayer, and making peace between one person and another. And the study of Torah equals to them all because it leads to them all. All this was central in the building of the synagogue and in the vision of Ron Silverman. Ron also understood that the work is never fully complete, and the empty notch on the lower part, right, the notch up there, serves as a reminder that the last brick has not been put in place, just as our work is not yet complete. It will not be complete until we create a world of peace, justice, and kindness. All this was Ron's vision and the reason he worked so hard and tirelessly to build this community as an expression of that which is sacred, holy, and divine. I would suggest that we honor Ron by each making a gift from our hearts to a place, group, organization, or person that needs it. The amount is less important than the act of doing it, and doing it is more important than just thinking it, because in doing so, you will each be sharing in Ron's commitment to build a better world, not in the future, but right now. So Ron, thank you for your enlightened teachings, for leading the way, and for doing it with such love and devotion and attention to every small and large detail. You have fulfilled a holy job in this incarnation. Now go in peace. Myra and those who have gone before you await you. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Mark. I'd now like to invite up Stephen McCandless from the Criterion.
Good morning. For me, it's particularly fitting that we're celebrating Ron's life today because tonight we're opening another production of the Teen Musical Theater of Oregon. TMTO was a passion project for Ron and Myra, so much so that they created a fund, now bearing both their names, to ensure that young people would always have a place on the Criterion stage. Tonight and every time the curtain goes up on TMTO, we'll have Ron and Myra to thank for it. I first learned about Ron about 25 years ago when I received an intercom call from the Criterion's box office manager advising me that he had just had a challenging customer service experience with a Hollywood hotshot, recently retired to Southern Oregon, who took exception to some of our ticketing policies. The box office manager wanted to warn me that this particular customer might be trouble. And he was right. Ron was trouble. The kind of trouble that keeps you out of trouble. The kind of trouble that makes your life and your enterprise better than it would be without him, because he saw more, asked more, and knew more than anyone else in the room. In other words, Ron was good trouble. So naturally, we changed our ticketing policy and asked him to serve on the Criterion's board of directors. And in short order, we asked him to be its president. And after that box was checked, we asked him to be our treasurer, a position that he held for the last 13 years. After all, no one could be trusted more to guard the Criterion's mission and storehouse than Ron. But as much as his unrelenting integrity and scrupulous attention to detail were invaluable, it was his reports that were most significant because they fueled attendance at the Criterion's board meetings. Imagine the treasurer's report being the highlight of any meeting. But Ron's analysis and commentary transcended facts and figures. You were never left you were never left to wonder what all the numbers meant. To these data points, Ron applied principles and context so that we would never confuse solvency with significance. At the same time, his reports were a lesson in the skillful commingling of exhortation and admonition, always delivered in sonorous tone and sometimes in rhyme. Artistically, no one's opinion mattered more to me than Ron's, so I always sat behind him so I could count the cadence of his applause. Of course, the metric that mattered most was whether he was on his feet at curtain call, and at TMTO he always was. There's no one I admired more than Ron, so I felt humbled by his friendship. After all, when you put someone on a pedestal, as I did Ron, their gaze can only be downward. But that was my artifact. The truth is, as a friend, Ron treated me as if I deserved a pedestal of my own.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Next, we want to invite up Joel Graves and Maestro Martin Maikut, director and conductor of the Rogue Valley Symphony. Please come on up.
I remember the first time I met Ron. I was at a reception for the symphony, and he walked over to me with his stunning wife on his arm, and he proceeded to instruct me about what terrible name tags we had. Especially for women who were wearing not only beautiful clothing, but beautiful jewelry. How dare I come up with such a terrible name tag? I noted right then and there that the huge smile that Myra had on her face, and the sparkle in her eyes, and the adoration for her husband, I should pay attention. I immediately said, "You are so right. I am going to fix that. I hate them too." Suddenly, he had a sparkle in his eye, and then I had a new friend. Ron was like a movie star to the symphony. We adored him and Myra. He was such a source of reality. He would be happy to tell you what he thought anytime. And we needed that on our board. I wanted someone who would tell us what he thought, and that he did. And all of it was valuable. From "I have no idea what you mean" to "Why on earth is this financial report so boring?" to "I'm so glad you changed the name tags." He was our friend. So Ron, I'm wearing your name tag, and I want to thank you for the nudge. We love them.
We became fast friends with Ron and Myra, and it wasn't too long before Kroll came up. I believe this was his one big musical regret in life, that the music from that movie was virtually unknown. So I checked it out, and indeed, this was an exceptional score written by the young James Horner. And I told Ron, okay, I'm gonna find a way to perform some of this music. Then it turns out to be it was a bigger project than I anticipated. The material for the music belonged to one party, the rights to perform the music belonged to a completely different party. Some of the music we could access relatively easily, some of it was next to impossible. It took a while. In those intervening few years, Ron, every conversation I had with him, every phone call, every meeting in person ended with, "Martin, you promised to play Kroll for me, and I'm not gonna live forever." And I always said, the promise will be kept, and maybe I'm extending your life, and you're welcome. So finally, the moment came
in August 2024, the stars aligned. We performed a concert of film scores, and we played selections from Kroll. We even had a little video from the movie. And the audience loved it. And his extended family was in attendance, and it brought them back to the years past. And then I sheepishly went to Ron, and I needn't to worry. He was touched, and he was content. He was very happy, and I am forever grateful that we made this project happen. And my only regret is that Myra wasn't there to experience it as well. I got to talk to Ron 2 weeks ago, and it was one of the most interesting conversations I ever had. He told me he's sponsoring a symphony concert, but he will not be there to hear it. And I thanked him for his friendship, and I told him how much it meant to have him in my life. But I realized Ron was in charge of the script, and he decided this was the perfect moment for the production to end.
Now I'd like to invite up Phil Meyer. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yes, from PBS.
Yeah. So working at a PBS station, there's usually, when someone asks me to speak for 2 minutes, there's a camera, there's a little graphic at the bottom that has the phone number for to make a pledge, and a teleprompter that has a script on it. Well, this is much harder. I wasn't as fortunate as many of you. I only knew Ron 3.5 years. I first met him in a job interview, my job interview. With that booming voice and the certainty of his convictions, he wasn't intimidating at all. I certainly couldn't imagine calling him Ronnie. And once I learned about his background, he became even more intimidating. TV writer, film producer, film school dean, poet, philanthropist, volunteer extraordinaire. But when I got to know Ron and Myra, I found we had a lot in common. A love of good TV, movies, music, junk food, and a little bit of a crush on Edie Gourmet. I see Ron's influence on everything we do at the station. When I sign a personalized letter to every major donor. When I refer to our new bylaws, which took 10 drafts. Because you see, Ron was very thorough, especially about the written word. I feel like I should conclude with a quote from a TV show. There's certainly many to choose from: the wisdom of Fred Rogers, the wit of Doc Martin, one of his favorite shows, quotes from history preserved by Ken Burns. But the one that resonates the most for me is from a show called The Good Place. There's a character named Chidi, and Chidi has this to say about what happens to us. Picture a wave in the ocean. You can see it, you can measure it, its height, the way the sunlight refracts when it passes through. And it's there, you can see it. You know what it is. It's a wave. And then it crashes to the shore and it's gone. But the water is still there. The wave was just a different way for the water to be for a little while, and the wave returns to the ocean, where it came from, where it's supposed to be. I like to think that Ron is where he is supposed to be, with Myra, and he took just a little bit of all of us with him. Thank you, Ron. Ronnie, sorry.
We both want copies of that poem, by the way. It's beautiful. Thank you. Dave Baker, friend from Rogue Valley Manor, please.
Good morning. Meeting Ron Silverman was like finding the brother that you never knew you had. We bonded almost immediately as we discovered shared values and interests. Our friendship was like a mosaic. Each memory contributed to the beauty of the whole. There were dinners in their home, Chinese food at Chen's, meals together at the Manor, and the soup was never hot enough. There were memorable games of Rummy Cube when Ron or Myra almost always prevailed. Many evenings together when we shared happy and not so happy times from the past. Ron was the consummate storyteller, never more obvious than during his Tuesday night at the movies at the Manor to an enraptured audience. He brought movies that had been part of our younger days back to life with insights and background stories, all presented with an amazing attention to detail. It is fitting that one of Ron's favorite films was It's a Wonderful Life. Ron's contributions went well beyond our lives at the Manor. The Criterion Theater, the Symphony, the Teen Theater, and SOPBS were all beneficiaries of his gifts of wisdom, time, and treasure. In my childhood, my dad gave me some excellent instruction. He told me always leave the campsite in better shape than you found it. Ron lived his life guided by that wisdom. Ron, you made us all richer by your presence. Your passing reminds us of our own mortality, while your remarkable life reminds of us how important it is to live life to the fullest. Farewell, dear brother. I love you, and give our love to Myra.
We now would like to invite up Eric, another dear friend from the Manor.
When my wife Marilyn and I moved to Rogue Valley Manor in 2018, people said, "You have to meet Ron and Myra." Not just one person said that. Many did. Marilyn and I had no idea that meeting Ron and Myra would be one of the true blessings about coming to RVM. Now, I know this service is for Ron, but it's impossible for us to say Ron without saying Myra. Ron and Myra shared a deep love that was exceptional. Ron and Myra were both loving and loyal to their friends, and their presence here on RVM's campus made everything a bit brighter and happier. As many of you know, Ron and Myra moved from Los Angeles to Ashland and then to Medford. I once asked Ron how it was that he and Myra ended up in Ashland and then Medford. He gave me 3 very good reasons. Number 1, Ron said he wanted to be in a location near a university. Ashland and Medford both qualified. Number 2, Ron said he wanted to be in a community with a vibrant art scene. Ashland and Medford both qualified. Number 3, Ron said he wanted to be near a Costco. Ashland and Medford definitely qualified. Ron used to always marvel at how positive Myra was, but the fact is that Ron was very positive too. Ron was a steadfast believer that the arts enriched all of our lives, and he dedicated himself to leadership roles at RVM and in the Southern Oregon arts community. Because Ron, Myra, Marilyn, and I were involved in the same industry in Los Angeles, some of our best times with Ron and Myra were spent at lively dinners, rehashing the good, the bad, and the ugly about the movie business. As many of you know, Ron could really tell a story well, and it was always so much fun to be at a table where Ron was holding court and delighting us all with memories from his wonderful career. The last movie that Ron showed at RVM during his much-loved Tuesday at the Movies was It's a Wonderful Life. How apt. It can be said about Ron without hesitation that he did have a wonderful life. And he made everyone else's life a bit more wonderful by his presence.
Amen to that. We now have a special treat, a video compiled of some clips of some of Ron's films. Put together by Robert and Mark.
Tell me something.
Getting a good meal at 4 in the morning. Everything.
Ain't you ever been to the movies?
More than men and swords, you will need the power of the glaives.
The man.
I am the man. I'm the new warden here. My name's Henry Brubeck.
God damn it, I agree with you!
No, you don't. Not really.
You know, I got me this philosophy. I figure life is sort of like a great big juicy steak. You gotta eat it all and don't leave nothing to waste.
Hey, Brubaker. I'm getting ready to tell you something. You were right.
It gets so quiet out there sometimes, I feel like I'm the last man on earth. It sure is peaceful. Got a lot more time to think in the winter. Really get into that ocean. Even the fog, It's so thick sometimes you can't even see the water. Funny thing is, you just keep on looking, even when you can't see anything.
Each to his fate.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you. This time we turn to a powerful prayer called El Maleh Rachamim, calling out to God, source of mercy on high, to envelop Ron in wings of protection and shalom, peace. Please join me in the English, and then I will sing it in the Hebrew. Merciful God, filled with mercy, whose home is the loftiest place, bring proper rest beneath the wings of Shekhinah, the divine presence, amongst the holy and the pure, who are illuminated like the brilliance of the skies, the soul of our beloved Ron, son of Nathan and Sylvia, who went to his eternal place of rest. May the Edenic garden be his place of rest. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter him beneath your wings eternally and bind his soul with your eternal being, that he may rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Ametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Bema'alot, Kedoshim u'tehorim, Kezohar harakia mazhirim, et nishmat Mordechai ben Natan, shehalach leolamo, began Eden tehei menuchato, Ana Baal Harachamim, Hastirehu besete kinefecha leolamim, Utzeror betzror hachayim, et nishmato. Adonai hu Nachlato, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, Thank you all for being here today to honor dear Ronnie, Papa Ronnie. Thank you for those with us online. There are cards distributed through the sanctuary. If you feel moved to make a donation in Ron's memory and in Myra's memory, feel free to take those home with you. We also have been mentioning those in our mailings going out. It's traditional to gather together, to share more memories, and to be in a prayerful space together. This is called Shiva, and tonight we will have our first Shiva, which will be a private Shiva just with the family, but on Saturday night and Sunday night we will be gathering at Lisa's home at 7 p.m. Please join us. For the graveside service, we will be meeting at 2 p.m. at Jacksonville Cemetery. It takes about 30-40 minutes to get there from here. Carpooling is recommended. You can put it in your GPS and it will take you to the entrance of the cemetery. When you arrive, you're just going to go all the way up. It's a single lane road, so to go with ease. And you go all the way up to the very, very top, and that's where we'll be. There should be signs indicating the direction to go. And you may need to park on the way up as you kind of enter the cemetery grounds. It will likely fill up there. And you can walk a short distance, just go all the way up. And there are printed instructions on green pieces of paper. I think I see some of you have those papers on how to get there as well. Please know it might be hot today. It's possible some rain will come through. Bring water, wear hats, take your ties off and your jackets off, roll up your sleeves, whatever you need to do to take very good care of yourselves. You might want to bring an umbrella for additional shade. In just a moment, we will have a closing song led by Rabbi David. And after that, close friends and family will be escorting Ron out of the sanctuary. And during that time, we will have a video that's playing of continued images of Ron in his life and accompanied by music from his films. Please feel free to remain and watch those.
Thank you, Rabbi Julie. Once again, it's an honor to do this sacred work with you and our friends and family together. Olam Chesed Yibanem is from Psalm 89, but the melody comes from thinking about the tragedy of 9/11 and the healing that's needed in the world, was needed in the world then, and it's needed even more now. So I want to ask everybody to please rise and sing this with me, a song of hope. Olam Chesed Yibanem, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibanem, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibanem, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibanem, Yaradai Dai Dai Dai. I will build this world from love, Yaradai Dai Dai Dai. And you will build this world from love, Yaradai Dai Dai Dai. And if we build this world from love, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai, then God will build this world from love, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yaradai Dai 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 Dai. Olam Chesed chesed yibaneh. Yadadai, dadai, dadai. Yadadai, idadai, idadai. Will all the pallbearers who'll be escorting Ron to the hearse please come on up now? Please join me, everybody.
Stephen McCandless, Martin Maikut, Joel, Albert, Eric, Dave, Andy, Star, and Brooke.
Olam chesed yibaneh. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love.
Thank you all, and feel free to remain to enjoy the music and these beautiful images.
I never dreamed you'd mean a thing to me. But when I needed your loving, you gave me loving the way it ought to be. Sweet country days, my memories are clear, and I remember the laughter, sure miss the laughter I had when you were here. And when I feel the way I'm feeling, can't help believing you made it so easy. They can't take that away. Stories don't mean a thing to me. I love your face, I love your quiet ways. If I could paint you in colors, you'd be a rainbow on a summer day. And when I feel the way I'm feeling, can't help believing you made it so easy. They can't take that away. They can't take that away. They can't take that away. They can't take that away.
Time and tide, your rolling rhythms are the music of my past. Hard times move slowly, but the good times move so fast. The good times move so fast. Roll on time and tide, your summer sunlight seems to melt away disguise. Reflects a woman waiting in a young girl's eyes, in a young girl's eyes. And love, oh, there is love enough for two in every morning. Come, let us taste it, find love, oh, in a life so quickly through. An April morning, we must not waste it. Time and tide, I've watched your perfect Pacific sunsets slip into the waves. Your light has gone, your beauty mine.